pay, so you'd understand. Anyways, let's get straight to it. This morning on the Morning Crossfire, I'll be speaking with two individuals. First, I'd like to introduce former council chairman. He's also a lawyer. In the person of Philip Okaraji. Sir, you're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm hearing a lot of
listeners.
I'm hearing stuff in Eleme as well. Is that the situation? What we're seeing across the council secretariats, does it apply there?
Well, yeah, we were surprised yesterday in the morning. We saw part of the council burning. And, we thank God that the boys were able to put the situation under control in Eleme.
Which are the boys? The community residents?
Boys.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, no. The damage was not as severe as what we saw in Ikwere and in Emoha.
We cannot quantify, but it's very, very severe too. I'm telling you, part of the council was burned down.
All right. Let me also quickly introduce former legal advisor for Obio Akpor Council, Leslie Ejekwu. Mr. Leslie, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Andrew.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We also heard yesterday after the newly elected council chairman had visited the council secretariat, there were attempts by some individuals to disrupt activities at the council secretariat. Is that correct?
We heard there was protesters, and we heard that there was some form of shootouts, but we're expecting the police to come out with an investigation report so as to know the persons that were involved in those dastardly acts that were carried out yesterday.
The major question, gentlemen, let me start with Mr. Philip, who's here in the studio, would be, what is responsible for this, and why are we seeing this? I mean, just on Sunday, the new elected chairman was sworn in. Then the order came from the IGP that the police should vacate the secretariats across the various councils, which was complied with. And just that window between when the police was left and then before we woke up the next day to see, in fact, for some, it was in the day when the council chairman was supposed to come to the secretariat that these things happened. What could be the reason behind it?
Well, I think you should remember that there were people who went on protest and said, no election, no election. And we said, there must be election. The governor said there must be election. And I can say the governor said, desperate situation require desperate reaction. And there was election. They said there was a court stopping. There was no court stopping the election. Let me use this opportunity first and foremost to congratulate the 23 elected local government chairmen and 319 councillors and even the state governor for his proactiveness in ensuring that election was conducted in Rivers State. And that ends. So those who are against it, they want to organize so that the chairman cannot take over. Why? The chairmen have taken over. Respective council, they have taken over yesterday. You could see
some sort of relationship with people who were in those offices before.
It's very, very obvious. Do you need a society to tell you what is happening?
I mean, we would wait for the police to...
But what we are saying, we are waiting for the police. We are waiting. But besides waiting for the police need to be proactive too. If the order have come that you supposed to vacate, you should be able to leave some of your men. For 3 months, they have occupied the council. They refuse to leave some of their men to say, look, we don't know the reaction. So police in Rivers State should be proactive in ensuring that there is security of life and property.
Mr. Leslie, you heard my guest here. He says, well, the election held and there was no court order that on the basis of law that could have stopped that election. And you've also heard his views about what possibly could be behind the attacks on the various council secretariats that we're experiencing. What's your perspective?
Okay, first and foremost, I have so much respect for my learned senior there in the studio. And I think it's not right for us as ministers in the Temple of Justice to be economical with the truth. We know that there was a judgment of Justice Peter Lifo on the 30th of September, nullifying all actions taken by RISEC, in fact, by the first to the fifth defendants, regarding any election, purported election, local government election to be held on the 5th of October. What are the actions that were nullified? Screening, the 14 notices given, the candidates that appeared before RISEC, and all actions, printing of ballot papers, and all that. all actions in its entirety, the court nullified them. So, and the court went further to ask INEC not to release the voters register. And INEC indeed came out to say they never released the voters register to RISEC. Assuming without considering the fact that INEC released the voters register to RISEC, the court also said all actions taken even by INEC, were all nullified. And so why are you proceeding with an election that the court has told you that all actions taken have been nullified? And it was to no effect. And that was the reason some persons, agreed persons, protested and said there is a judgment of court, not just an order. Mind you, on July 19th, on the 19th of July, there was an order of RIFO stating that the parties, INEC, PDC, should not proceed with the elections. That order had not been set aside. That order has not been appealed against. And after that, there's a judgment. We heard that there was a court order from the River State High Court, whereas that is just an interlocutory order. But there is a final judgment that has taken care of all the facts, all the issues, and heard the matter on the merits.
All right, Mr. Leslie.
You cannot compare an order of court to a judgment.
There are those that argue that.
And so just finally, to the third issue raised by my learned friend, that the protesters were more like those that carried out those acts there. I think it's very unfortunate to say that. It is very unfortunate to say that. Everyone that is aggrieved has a right to protest. And that is the peaceful protest that is expected by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it will not hamper or hinder their rights to protest. But saying that they went further to carry out that act in the council is not correct. Because we are waiting the police to come out with a comprehensive investigative report. That is when, as lawyers, we can speak authoritatively.
Right. There are those that have the argument that you can't. We'll come to Mr. Philip. I know you want to respond, but there are those that have the argument that, well, election matter in this country. The Supreme Court had over before and several other judgments says you can't stop an election in the country with an order. I say, we can't conduct elections. If there are issues with the elections, you can go to court after the elections, but not stop an election from holding. I don't know if that's correct. You are the lawyer. You tell me, but it's the best that I've heard, and from the other cases that have appeared before the Supreme Court in the past. That's one. There are also those that, and this question I'd like you to respond to, does with regards to elections at the state level, what powers does INEC or the courts have to determine the operations or the conduct of an election at the state level? Which laws govern the election at the state level? Hello, Mr. Leslie.
Okay, hello.
Yes, I'm saying the laws that govern. Yes, which laws govern elections at the state level?
Very well, Mr. Andrew Femi. The RISEC law governs elections at the state level, but not unilaterally. Not unilaterally. There is a function of INEC within considering the conduct of elections in the state. The INEC is duty bound by law to give the register of voters, comprehensive register of voters, to RISEC to ensure that persons are not disenfranchised in the conduct of the local government elections in the state. That power given to RISEC is not absolute. It's not absolute. That is the reason why that clause of furnishing the RISEC with the voters register, because it is only INEC that is empowered by law to have is the custodian of the voters register of citizens of this country. And that is why they have been mandated to give it to RISEC to be able to conduct the elections freely and fairly, and to ensure that no citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is disenfranchised because of the conduct of a local government election in the state.
What about the court order that mandated INEC to release that, mandated the police to provide security, mandated RISEC to carry out the elections?
Like I said earlier on in my submission, Mr. Andrew Fimi, we are all lawyers. You place an interlocutory order side by side the final judgment of the court? No, they don't have the same effect in law.
But what about
judgment of court? I'm coming, sir. Sir. The final judgment of the court has taken care of all the facts and matters and issues and given a final, not interlocutory. And it's important to state here that by Lifu's order on the 19th of July, parties were restrained. and they're supposed not to have gone to the
All
High
right,
Court
Mr.
to
Leslie,
execute similar matter.
hold that
is an
thought. We'll come back to it,
process,
but we'll also discuss whether Federal High Court and a State High Court on this matter, which of those has the powers to give certain judgments after the commercial.
Why you no come
That was, I know I said it was a short commercial. It turned out not to be too short, but regardless, we'll try to make do with the little time we have left. Former council chairman and lawyer Philip Okaraji is here with us in the studio. We also have Leslie Ejekwu, who's a former legal advisor to Obio Akpor Council, who's also a lawyer on the line. Mr. Leslie, thank you for your patience and waiting on the line for us. Hello, Mr. Leslie,
Hello.
Can you hear me? Thank you for staying on.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Leslie, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Leslie. Thank you for staying on.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Mr. Philip, thank you as well.
Yes.
So, gentlemen, quickly, let's just see how we can get to make our points as brief as possible so that we can manage the little time we have left. Now, back to you, Mr. Leslie. I asked a few questions. We're waiting for your response about which law applies to the conduction of elections at the state level. And I also asked about the conversation many have had was that you can't have a matter in the state that you have a state high court and then you are getting orders and judgments from a federal high court, which both are seen as coordinate jurisdictions, if I'm correct. You are the lawyer. What's your response to people who make that argument with regards to all that's happened around the elections?
Okay, so Mr. Andrew, very quickly. On the 18th of July, the Federal High Court gave an order asking the parties to hold on, not to proceed with the election until the final determination of the suit. September 4th, a state high court goes to give an order asking RISEC to go ahead and police and the security agencies to give security for the election. And then on September 30th, the federal gave a final judgment. By the state high court, by the parties going to state high court was an abuse of court process because a matter had already been instituted at the federal high court. Mr. Andrew, let me inform you. We are all lawyers. My senior colleague is also very much aware of what I'm about to say. When a matter is being instituted in the court, whether the court has the jurisdiction or not to hear that matter, it will give a ruling. And when that ruling is given, if you are not satisfied, if you are aggrieved, you appeal that ruling to the appellate court, saying that the lower court has no jurisdiction to entertain that matter. For example, it happened with Justice Wally. Justice Wally gave a judgment, an order here, asking the 27 lawmakers not to proceed with carrying out their legislative function. They obeyed that order of court, but appealed it to the appellate court. And when the appellate court heard the matter, and they noted very strongly that the state high court had no jurisdiction to entertain that suit.
Okay.
And so when they say,
Yes. I said we get your point. We get your point.
Yeah.
Let's quickly hear from Mr. Philip, his response. Well, you've heard most of the things he said about the court orders on the election.
Let me thank my learned friend. I think my learned friend, let me go ahead to educate him more. There is what is called territorial jurisdiction in law. Law is not all about rhetoric, but it's all about facts. Now, you asked him a question he couldn't answer. Which court has the competency and jurisdiction to entertain issues on local government? Is the state high court and not the federal high court. The federal high court in Abuja has no jurisdiction. He is saying on the 30th there was a judgment given. Is he aware, are you aware that same judgment given, our learned Sikh, Femi Falana, on Friday said a court of appellate jurisdiction have said stay of execution. And when the court says stay of execution, that means that judgment is what? Is not enforceable. What Rivers State government did, there is no law barring.
Go on, Mr. Philip.
There is no law barring Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission from conducting the local government election. The State High Court on the 4th of September said, go ahead. You said Justice Peter Lefo in Abuja on the 30th, but Court of Appellate Jurisdiction have said stay of execution. Can that judgment be enforced? It's not enforceable. So what the Rivers State government did, you see, there is a federal high court in Port Harcourt here. Why Abuja? Why didn't you come to Port Harcourt? So my brother, my learned friend, advise your client accordingly. That law is all about fact, not rhetoric. Not by just running here and saying this is what the election that took place on Saturday. It's a legitimate, and let me tell you, just like it happened in the Arab Spring, the will of the people will always prevail. What happened on Saturday is that will of River electorate, the will of the people of River State are prevail. Now we have democratically elected chairmen at the local council of River State.
What do you think? What's the argument? Because we have some of the outgone council chairmen still saying that they should be referred to as chairmen and claiming
they cannot be referred to. Court of Appeal have said that law has been set aside. That amended local government law has been set aside. So on what basis? Where is the law? What are you bidding on? You can't bid nothing on nothing.
Mr.
You can't
Leslie,
bid something on nothing. What are they bidding on?
Yes.
Mr. Leslie, do you share? Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Aruf, let me quickly correct an impression. Like I said earlier on, I have so much respect for my learned senior in the studio there. There was no appellate decision staying the judgment of Justice Lifu. The application for stay of execution of that judgment was denied. It was denied by the court. They made an application immediately that judgment was given, asking for a stay of execution of that judgment. But that application was
But
denied by the court.
is it right that the state high is it right when he said that the state high court is what is has the jurisdiction first to entertain matters that refers to the elections in the state?
Of course.
Mr. Andrew, I have responded to that very, very clearly. I said, assuming but not considering the fact that a wrong court was approached to entertain a suit which the court had no jurisdiction to entertain. As lawyers, we must go through that process. Once the judgment has been given or ruling has been given, we must appeal and say that court has no jurisdiction.
No, doesn't that make a problem? It then brings us to this. Many have accused the judiciary of being problems of this country. If you are saying what you're saying now, so a court knows it has no jurisdiction to entertain a matter, why still go ahead to entertain it and expect the client to then go to another court and say, that court should not?
Let me face that part very clearly.
Yes.
The federal court has jurisdiction to entertain the matters. Who are the parties to that suit? INEC, the Inspector General of Police, RISEC. A citizen of Nigeria has a right to approach any court in the country when he feels his right has been infringed upon or is about to be infringed upon. That was what the APC did. That's what the APC did.
Right.
And so if the court was wrong, as a lawyer, excuse me, sir, as a lawyer, if the court was wrong, you appeal. That's what we do. We don't come to radio studio and to start educating the public and misinforming them. No. We are ministers in.
Mr. Leslie, I think I would have to try and reconnect. Got disconnected there. While we reestablish contact with Mr. Leslie, let us quickly open the phone lines and take a few calls. Mr. Leslie, I don't know if you're back on and you can hear me. All right, 0817-923-0007. 0817-923-0007. Should we now be concerned for the safety of local government workers with what we have seen upon the opening the opening of the secretariats in the various councils? Should we now have concerns for local government workers? And if there are concerns, how do we now manage this situation? Mr. Leslie, I don't know if you can hear me now. If you can, please. Okay. Let's quickly take a few calls and get questions and responses from the listener. Please keep your contributions very short, simple, and direct. We don't have a lot of time. I'm trying to work with what we have left. Good morning to you. We already have with us Stanley from Elele1. Good morning, Stanley.
Yes, good morning.
All right. Quickly with your contribution or question. Straight to the point.
My only contribution, not first and foremost, your guest from Eleme, Mr. Okaraji, was saying that what happened on Saturday. In the first place, there was no election that held on Saturday. Because I took my time and I went around the entire ward of Ward 5, talking about Elele in my community. No single place, there was no place that voting took place. So what they did was to
all right, Stanley, and then quickly, just to interrupt and correct you, the fact that in your ward, maybe you, according to what you have said, you did not see anything does not mean election did not hold. You can say election did not hold in your ward from what you saw. No, so I need to correct you before you go on, so you understand it better, all right?
My reason for saying that is that a councillor emerged from my ward, and we had other aspirants that applied for that position. That's one. Two, before now, we also recall that the Federal High Court in Abuja has nullified the budget in which RISEC rely on to conduct this election. I don't know if you are aware. I also want to remind you of your guest in the studio. So, I don't know, this whole election is a charade.
All right. Charade. Let's go to Buguma quickly. Stanley says election is a charade. Isaiah Buguma, what's your thoughts quickly?
The standard personnel in the studio. Okaraji, good morning, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
All your guests. Andrew, I want to say that on the election day, can everyone be at the same place at the same time? Nobody is omnipresent and omniscient. It can be at the same time. So just like corrected that, some fractions can be, but not everywhere. But we are talking about the larger percentage of what actually transpired on that day. And now, if they are telling us that what happened was not an election, so the bombing and the killing, the maiming yesterday was that they are telling me that is the true election that they are now conducting around the 5 edges that were packed. Now you are conducting an election of maiming and bloodletting, pulling down of a government structure, taxpayers, the structure built by taxpayers' money. Andrew, you are in this state when several times so many judgments emanate, and this other camp keep relying that the state do not have jurisdiction. It's only the federal court that has jurisdiction. Akpor, this one that is absolutely within the confines of the state to decide on matters of respect. And you are not referring that the federal high court, even when there was a state,
all right, Isaiah,
not to do anything. Andrew, the state is sliding into anarchy.
Let's go to Leighton Barry in Bori. Please, Leighton Barry, keep it short. Good morning.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning to your guest.
Thank you.
There is something I need to understand, and your guest was saying there is what we call territorial jurisdiction. And I really want to ask you are saying territorial jurisdiction. Is it also, in a case, for instance, you're saying territorial jurisdiction. Does it mean that the High Court is higher than the Federal High Court? And secondly, the governor telling us to go to commence work at the council secretary. I am observing that this whole situation crisis has not died down because the people are not satisfied with what they are agitating for. Is it telling us that this problem will not rise again? Because we are talking about lives here. We are talking about lives. And if people should go to council, whereas this case has not been settled, how do you think the people can comfortably do their job, carry out their responsibility at the council?
All right, Leighton Barry, good question. Prince Will from Omagwa, good morning. We lost the call from Prince Will. 0817-923-0007. You can also call 0817-923-0003. We'll see if we can take one more call. Ida from Nkoro on WhatsApp says, please, those destroying government property should stop. It's not good. How do they want progress? Because the new administration will now go back and use monies meant for something else to start renovating something that already had been built. Please, they should stop. Muriel in Okrika, let's hear you. Good morning.
Hi, Femi. Good morning.
Yeah, go on, Muriel.
Look, Ifemi, I've said it before that if democracy fails in Nigeria, I would blame all the lawyers, the judges, and now I include the police. Look, Ifemi, someone cannot come up be telling me questions about lawyers, about business, about law facts and law facts, and you're connected to people destroying our properties. You live in this state. Your properties are in this state. You close that street and you give property in this state, and you're staying in glass houses and you're three stores. You're destroying that people's property. If that property belongs to what is the governor's house, you're destroying our property that we take their own money because you agree because you don't like the governor. Look, if the governor does not take any, and Obio is very close to the police station. They're telling me that all those bullets, the police do not care. They did not. They didn't say they should come back because they asked them to just protect. They will just stay where they are. Look, if the governor does not take any action there, I won't be happy about it.
All right, Muriel, thank you very much. Unfortunately, Hector, we don't have enough time to attend to you. So, gentlemen, we'll get responses quickly. Mr. Philip in the studio, let's start with you. 2 minutes. Let's get what your thoughts.
I don't know why the political repo about River State. On that Saturday, Akwa Ibom conducted election, Benue conducted election, but I think, and I want to urge, that we need to give the maximum support to the governor. Rivers State is very peaceful, and let me use this opportunity actually to condemn that heinous act by those who went burning council, killing people, and I sympathize with the family that lost their beloved one. So we need to give support to the government and to the people of Rivers State for Rivers State to move forward. Whatever action, there is no basis for whatsoever. You will continue to protest. I don't see any basis. Election have taken place. The people who won have been sworn into office and they are working. They are going to bring dividends of democracy to the grassroots. So we need to support the state government and support the council chairman.
All right.
That is my plea.
Mr. Leslie. Let's get your thoughts quickly. And one more question. I'll throw in one question for you as well. The PDP, as I think, has said that it was going to go to court with regards
on
to
the basis of what?
So many have said, can they, especially with the fact that they did not participate in the process?
Okay, so Mr. Andrew, let me quickly put this on record. Nobody, as in no reasonable man, will encourage the destruction of lives and property in any part of Rivers State or in any part of Nigeria as a whole. No reasonable man will want to encourage that. We condemn that in strong terms. And that's why we're saying, as very learned and responsible citizens, there are routes and routes for us to take to get our grievances sorted out, which is one of the reasons why the learned SCM, Mr. Femi Falana, has appealed against the judgment to the Court of Appeal, and that matter will be heard on its merit, and the honorable justices of the Court of Appeal are going to give their decision, one way or the other, to bring peace to Rivers State. We are not encouraging people to go to the streets, to go to local government councils, to carry out any form of maim or destruction. That's not what we are preaching. See, that's a correction to one of your callers that made that statement. As lawyers, I never encourage that. We condemn that in strong terms. And as we said, we are waiting for the police to come up with a comprehensive investigation report so that those that are responsible will be held accountable.
All right.
That's our position on that. Then secondly, I would like to put on record, somebody said that the election did not go the one unit, does not mean the election did not go anywhere. In a state that has 3,215,273 voters, registered voters, and you have a research saying that about 19,204 persons voted. How can you compare that? And
but does that mean the election is null and void?
Let me conclude. Let us not deceive ourselves as a state. If we say we want to progress as a state, we must first stop deceiving ourselves. An election that had nobody accredited, people were not voting with their voters card, people were just printing, those that came out there. So we don't want to go and talk about that. We don't want to go into that.
If you have facts, if you have facts or proof, Mr. Leslie,
you saw people came out in Port Harcourt, in Elema, across the state.
The records are out there.
Where?
The records are out there. The Labour Party people, personnel, have already made their press statement.
Is it your press statement? We are talking of facts. Show facts. That there was no election. Show facts.
For them to prove, that is not what we are talking about here. What we are talking about is that there is a court of competent jurisdiction that has given a judgment that must be obeyed. The rule of law must be respected.
So can the PDP, does the PDP have the grounds to to go to court with regards to the election?
Mr. Ifeanyi, like I told you earlier on in this program,
yes,
as a citizen, a corporate citizen of this country, you have the right to approach any court in this country to hear your grievances. It's now left for the court to say, oh, you lack the local standard to bring this matter before me.
Okay.
No, I do not have the decision to entertain this matter.
All right.
That is how we should speak.
Let me just ask you one question.
Thank you, gentlemen.
House money, you can build your home.